We spend a ton of time obsessing over exactly how to save money, right? And figuring out how much we actually need to feel secure. But there is this absolutely crucial, kind of overlooked question that can honestly make or break your financial stability. And that is exactly where should you store that emergency fund once you've built it? Because look, if you pick the wrong spot, your safety net might just vanish right when you need it most. But if you pick the right spot, it's just going to sit there, working quietly in the background, keeping you totally insulated from life's unexpected lightning bolts. Welcome to this explainer.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the 3 essential rules for storage, introduce the high-yield solution, navigate around the stock market trap, break down the APY advantage, and then wrap up with some practical setup steps to get you sorted out today.
First up, Section 1. The 3 essential rules for anchoring your safety net.
Now, before we start naming specific banks or account types, we really need to understand the absolute non-negotiable criteria for a storage location. Think of these as the 3 pillars basically holding up your financial roof. So first, it has to be completely safe from principal loss, period. Second, it needs to be accessible when a true emergency actually hits. And third, it absolutely must be physically separated from your daily spending. If your safety net is swimming in the exact same pool as your grocery money, it is dangerously easy to accidentally spend it. Moving on to Section 2, the high-yield solution. Time to meet the hero.
So what's the ultimate tool that fits all our criteria perfectly? It's the high-yield savings account, or HYSA for short. Now, you likely already know what this is, right? An online account that offers a significantly higher interest rate than your typical brick-and-mortar bank, all while keeping that crucial FDIC insurance. But what's really important to grasp here is why this specific combination of features makes it literally the absolute ideal vehicle for your cash.
$250,000. That is the standard FDIC insurance limit, and it totally satisfies our very first pillar, ultimate safety. It basically means your money is protected by the federal government even if there's a total bank failure. For funds you literally depend on for your day-to-day survival, this level of sleep-at-night security is completely non-negotiable. So the crucial point is how this handles our accessibility and separation pillars. These accounts generally take about 1 to 3 business days to transfer funds. And you might be thinking, well, wait, isn't that way too slow? Honestly, not at all. A major car repair or a big medical bill usually doesn't require physical cash in your hand within the hour. But that slight delay, it creates this really necessary strategic pause. It physically separates the money from your checking account and stops you from making impulsive purchases. The slight friction of a transfer is a feature, not a bug.
Next up is Section 3, the stock market trap. Let's talk about why growth and security really don't mix.
Let's be crystal clear about something that trips up so many eager investors out there. The stock market is not an emergency fund. It's incredibly common to learn all about compound growth and then suddenly feel like, wow, leaving my cash in a savings account is just a huge waste of potential. But we have to remember, security and growth are 2 entirely different goals. The stock market is a fantastic wealth-building tool for sure, but its short-term volatility makes it a genuinely terrible safety net. 50%. Let that sink in for a second. During the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis, stock values literally plummeted by roughly half. People who kept their quote-unquote emergency fund in the market discovered a terrifying reality. At the exact moment the economy crashed and they lost their jobs, which is, of course, the exact moment they desperately needed that money, their safety net had been sliced in half. You just cannot afford a shrinking emergency fund. It fails our safety pillar completely.
All right, on to Section 4, understanding the APY advantage. Let's do a little math. Now, just because we're avoiding the stock market doesn't mean your cash has to just sit there completely idle. As a quick refresher, whenever you're comparing these accounts, you always want to look at the APY. That's the annual percentage yield. This metric bakes in the compounding frequency, which gives you the true picture of exactly what your safety net is going to generate for you while it just sits there.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Let's put some real numbers to this, okay? Say you have a modest emergency fund of around $3,600. If that's just sitting in a traditional legacy bank account earning a 0.40% APY, that money generates a pretty pitiful $14.40 over the course of a year. But if you place that exact same $3,600 into a high-yield account at 4.5%, it earns over $160. That is free money generated simply by optimizing your storage location. So while it's not technically an investment, earning 10 times the standard rate really helps your cash fight off inflation while it waits around to protect you.
Finally, Section 5, practical setup steps so you can start taking action today.
Okay, so here is your exact execution checklist. First off, you'll want to open your high-yield account at a completely different institution from your daily checking account. This is going to maximize that psychological friction we talked about. Second, jump into your bank's app and literally nickname the account Emergency Fund. Trust me, staring at that name really makes you think twice before swiping it for a weekend vacation. Third, set up an automated transfer for every single payday so you build the habit completely effortlessly. And finally, whatever you do not request a debit card for this account. You really want to keep those funds safely tucked away.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a quick checkpoint. Knowing the 3 essential rules that it has to be safe, accessible, and separate, where does your money actually belong right now? Is it vulnerable in the super volatile stock market? Maybe it's trapped in a 2-year CD, bleeding to inflation in a regular checking account. Or is it optimized in a high-yield savings account? Take a hard look at your own setup today and make absolutely sure your safety net is actually ready to catch you. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.